My name is Adam Lyttle. I'm an indie app developer with a portfolio of apps on the App Store that generates a six-figure passive income. Today, I wanted to give you a bit of a tour behind the scenes of where I create my apps and the space that I call my sanctuary. I don't really call it my sanctuary. I thought that would be nice for dramatic effect. From this part here to this part here, this is all I need to create a business that generates six-figure revenue. In reality, we live in a 4-bedroom home with 5 children. So that means that my space is actually a shared space. From this point on to this point on, this is a shared computer that the kids use. While I'm coding, while I'm working, they can jump on here, they can do some homework. Then this space here is my partner's sewing station. So she'll set up here and do some beautiful sewing. There's limited space, but we make it work. And it turns out we don't actually need a lot of space. The equipment. This is my Apple M3 Pro, 36GB of RAM and 1TB of hard drive space. I was originally using this Apple M1 Pro. I only had 8GB of RAM and 256GB of hard drive space. This was the most expensive laptop I had ever bought, and I skimped on the RAM, thinking that I could upgrade it in the future. Little did I know, you can't upgrade RAM in the M series. It's just not possible. So for the last few years, I've been stuck with 8GB of RAM. And if I'm being honest, the M1 is sufficient for creating apps, just with a bit more RAM. I've upgraded to the M3 because, well, the business has generated a bit more revenue, and I wanted to reinvest some of that revenue into my equipment. And also, I'm filming these videos, so the 256GB of disk space just was no longer cutting it. But the M3 is a beast. I'm a big believer on not spending too much money on your setup. When I first started developing apps, I was running on a Windows laptop with an emulator, and that was slow, annoying, and cumbersome. So I upgraded to a broken MacBook that I got off Marketplace for only a couple of $100. The screen was broken and had no Wi-Fi, so I ended up just connecting it with an HDMI cable to an external screen. In fact, it's the screen you see behind me, and it worked. It was slow, it was cumbersome, but it worked. It allowed me to create my first apps. It only cost a couple of $100. My initial setup was $99 for the Apple Developer Program and a couple of $100 for a broken MacBook. And I was able to start creating apps that started to generate a passive income. As the income came in, I'd reinvest that money back into my equipment and also pay down some debts. A little bit more on that in my next video. For the longest time, I was using a gaming mouse and ended up upgrading to the MX Master 3S. This thing is the best mouse that I've ever used. It's responsive. The scroll wheel does this thing where you can click a button and you can scroll really fast up and down your code. Click the button and then it locks in. I don't really use the side scroll. There's a button here. I don't use that button, but it's comfortable. It works well. It's wireless. And it's weighted nicely, so it fits nicely in your hand. Some of the wireless mouses that I've used in the past, the weighting wasn't right, and it would be like a bit too heavy at the front or a bit too heavy at the back, and when you're moving it around, it would feel like it's going to fall out of your hand. But this just fits very nicely in your hand, and I love it. So this is the keyboard that I use, MX Keys. Part of the same series as my MX Master 3S mouse. I'm not a big fan of mechanical keys. I'm not a big fan of the clicking keys, the ones that take too much travel time to get down. I just wanted something that replicates the laptop keys. Something that's easy to use, I can just code and type on, and also I need the numpad keys. I don't know about you, but I need the numpad keys. So many keyboards these days have no numpad. And even my laptop, my MacBook, has no numpad. On my desk, I've also got my DUPLO duck. You place the duck next to your computer, and anytime you have an issue with your code, just talk to the duck, and somehow that process helps you find the solution. I think it works because when you speak something out loud, you're hearing what you're saying, but you're also having to process what you're saying before you say it. So the thoughts, when they're bouncing around in your head, they sort of feel like they're linear, but they're kind of not. I think the mind is very abstract, and it's not until you actually say it out loud that you bring it into the world in a linear way. So it forces you to get these abstract thoughts and just talk about it linear. Clearly doesn't work. I struggle trying to say words sometimes. This is my office. I got a little bit of natural light coming in through the window. Come over into this corner of the room. I want to show you my trusty whiteboard. Very quickly and easily allows me to take myself away from the computer and just sketch out a to-do list or some ideas, whatever I wanted to put down on there. Kind of also doubles as a bit of a babysitter for the kids. They love to draw on this thing. The artwork that I have up, this is my partner's choice of artwork, and to be honest, I like it. I like it. It's become a fixture in my office, and I like to look at it. Now, you might have noticed in some of my videos this red chair. This is a multi-purpose space. We get as much use out of this space as we possibly can. And this chair is a nursing chair. So this is where we rock our baby to sleep, and it's used quite a bit for that. So sometimes I'll be in the corner coding, my kids will be on the computer watching videos, and my partner will be nursing our baby to sleep while I'm working. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This, like even just talking about it, brings me so much warmth. I've never been someone who's been able to work in an office. I've had shared offices before, so I've gone into shared offices. I've rented offices, I've sub-rented offices, but there's nothing that compares to just working from home on my own schedule and my own time. And it takes a while to sort of get to that stage. In the initial stages of starting up my indie app development business, my dreams and my hopes of making this a full-time thing that would generate revenue, enough revenue to support myself, my family, put a roof over our head, it was a very far distant sort of idea. I'd see other indie hackers, other indie app developers make a thing of this. So I could see them actually creating a good income from building apps. So I knew in my mind that if I stuck to this path and I kept building and I kept developing, I too would have some of that good fortune come my way. But in the early days, when you're not making much revenue from this thing and you're not able to put a roof over your head through your apps, I find this stage to be kind of challenging. It was quite a challenging stage because there's dishes that need to be done. The house needs to be cleaned, all of these things. And if I'm sitting on the computer in the middle of the house and I'm not really generating much revenue from the work that I'm putting in, from the perspective of family around me, kind of looks like a hobby. Kind of looks like me sitting down, building things and not really getting much revenue from it. So it can create a bit of tension in the household and creates a bit of tension with your loved ones. And those stages are challenging. It was a challenging stage. Over time, as the income came in, the revenue started to get generated and you could start to see the results. I knew in my mind this is the trajectory things were going, and I knew in my mind that this is a path that was viable. For me, that was solid. For everyone around me, not so much. Until they started to see the results. And then when they start to see the results, all of a sudden think, yeah, that's his work. That's his job. I'm just very lucky that I've turned my hobby into a job. I love creating these apps. I love coming up with ideas and I love learning new things. And this, I guess, is why I'm an indie app developer, just so that I can really just dive into these things, build them, come up with ideas, but also have the flexibility to say, that's it. I don't want to work today. Yesterday we went to the aquarium. It was a Monday. Didn't work. It was great. Took the kids. I had a fantastic time. If I worked a 9 to 5, worked in an office, wouldn't be able to do that. In my next video, I'm going to show you how much my indie apps have generated this past month. Bit of a spoiler, this past month has been my best month ever. So I'm going to show you how much you can earn from developing apps. Make sure you subscribe and check out my next video.